Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar, where we get to sit down and talk with interesting professional guitar players and related music industry experts. If you love playing guitar, stick around. You're in the right place. Hey, this is Craig Garber from Everyone Loves Guitar, and if you're a guitar player who's looking to make some more money, then listen very closely to what I'm about to tell you. If you're a guitar player, or any other kind of musician for that matter, or if you know a musician who wants to make some more money without having to tour or go on the road, or put up with any of the other BS musicians normally have to deal with, then you need to download this new special report about how to make a small fortune by licensing your music. And by licensing music, I mean getting your music inserted into movies, television shows, and commercials. The report is less than 20 pages long, and it was written by Mike Elsner, who I interviewed in episode number 167 of this show. Mike's been doing this for over 14 years, and he's had over 2,000 songs licensed at this point in time. That means he's getting paid to license almost 150 songs per year. Now, keep in mind, most successful career musicians don't get paid for 150 songs in total over a 30 or 40-year career. Yet, Mike's getting paid for this on an annual basis. And the cool thing about this business is that you can run it from your own home studio, and you'll never have to deal with ivory tower record label executives telling you what to play and how to play it, and no shady managers or unethical business people telling you what to do either. So download Mike's free ebook on the 4-step plan to licensing success right now. Just go to everyonelovesguitar.com/Mike. That's everyonelovesguitar.com/Mike, M-I-K-E. Let me know how you like the book. And now let's get on with the show. Hey, everybody. This is Craig Garber from Everyone Loves Guitar. And I have just like such a special guest today. I don't even know where to start, but trying to write an introduction for Reggie Young is like trying to put together a brief introduction for Mother Teresa or Muhammad Ali or Elvis or Bob Dylan or Paul McCartney. So instead of spending my time talking, because I know if you're listening to this, you want to hear Reggie, let me be real brief. By all accounts, Reggie Young is the most recorded guitar player alive today. He's been making music and playing on master session recordings for more than 60 years. He's played on over 150 top 10 hits, and he's responsible for all the original guitar riffs of songs like Suspicious Minds and In the Ghetto by Elvis Presley, Son of a Preacher Man by Dusty Springfield, Willie Nelson's Always on My Mind, Sweet Caroline and Holly Holy by Neil Diamond, Cry Like a Baby by the Box Tops, Dobie Gray's Drift Away, Hooked on a Feeling by B.J. Thomas, Cocaine by J.J. Cale, Billy Swan's I Can Help, and literally tens of thousands of other songs. And four of the best entertainers and guitarists around, the Highwaymen, a band which was comprised of Willie Nelson, Johnny Cash, Kris Kristofferson, and Waylon Jennings, all chose Reggie to be their guitarist, and he toured with them for quite some time. He also opened up for the Beatles. He played with Wilson Pickett, Joe Tex, Bobby Boo Bland, Chuck Berry, King Curtis, Bobby Womack, Kenny Rogers, Boss Skaggs, Eric Clapton, Merle Haggard, Waylon Jennings, Ringo Starr, Bob Dylan, Paul Simon, Joe Cocker, B.B. King, and and several thousand other people. So I want to give a warm, really special thank you and welcome to Reggie Young, and we have his cheerleading section, his lovely wife, Jenny Young, in the background with us. So thanks, guys.
Yay!
I appreciate you all coming on the show.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
Reggie, start out with, tell me about Eddie Bond and the Stompers.
Gosh, that goes back to the 50s. His dad owned a paint store in Memphis, M.L. Campbell Paint Store. And in the back room of the shop was where we'd rehearse and play and worked on our shows and everything. And there was a disc jockey in Memphis that Sleepy Eyed John was his name, John Lefley, and he said we ought to come up to his studio, which was in a historic building in Memphis, and record this one song that he had. And it's called Rockin' Daddy. And we cut that, and he got it placed on Mercury Records. And Guys, this was 56. How long ago it was. And when they got placed through Mercury Records. And anyway, it came out and it was a regional hit. And first time out of the, just, here we go. And there's a fellow in Memphis named Bob Neal, who was a disc jockey, and then he went on to manage Elvis before Colonel Tom did. And he put us on a package tour that we toured all over the United States. And but he was from Memphis. And people on the tour was Johnny Cash and Carl Perkins and Roy Orbison had a record out called Ooby Dooby. And then they had us and a couple more rockabilly acts like Charlie Feathers and Warren Smith. This is going way back. And we toured all over the United States with that package tour, he called it. And so I did that for a while. And then there was a high studio, was doing some stuff. And Bill Black, bass player with Elvis, was a good friend of mine. And he asked me, he said, when Elvis was in the Army, he said, would you like to work with some artists and just for the studio, they were trying to get a hit of acts and all that. I said, yeah. So I kind of dropped out of the Eddie Bond scene and playing clubs and stuff like that around Memphis, and started working in the studio. And then we got something else. There's a guy named Ed Cusack. We'd come in once a month from New York to hear some of the stuff we had recorded in case they wanted to release it on London Records. And he came in one time and said, we had cut an instrumental. The engineer had told us, well, we're not getting anywhere. Said, I said, well, let's do something different. And instrumentals were big back then. And so I tuned my guitar down 2 steps and used a pencil instead of a guitar pick. And I was hitting the strings, it's old shuffle beat, don't. And they had a little melody over the top of it, and he heard that. So we'd cut that, and Ned heard that. He said, "Oh, what is that?" And they said, "Oh, it's just something we're trying to come up with, And so he released it on London Records. It was a Bill Black combo. But anyway, that got me away from playing clubs with Eddie. And Eddie it was a fun gig. I did that for years, 3 years, I guess. And anyway, met a lot of people. And but then that sort of broke me into the record business through Bill Black. And that's what started at High Records. We came out with that in 1957.
Okay. So a few questions for you. First of all, you told me twice yesterday your memory's slipping. Meanwhile, you knew the guy's dad's name. You knew the name of the name of the store that the guy owned. So don't tell me your memory's and this is going back 60 plus years.
Oh man,
so
yeah,
shame on you. Don't tell me you're concerned about your memory, because I can't remember what I did last week and you're going back. So your first tour, though, you're on the road with Johnny Cash, Carl Perkins, and Roy Orbison.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
Pretty awesome, yeah.
What were you thinking? Like, what was going through your head? Was it like surreal to you, or?
It was. I would set goals. Each year I'd have another goal or something. The main goal I had back in the 50s was to play at Ellis Auditorium in Memphis. And I thought if I could do that with somebody, that would be the ultimate, what can I do to top that? Well, I did that. And who was I with? It might have been Eddie Bond. And then I did that with, it wasn't. It was Johnny Cash and all those people. That package tour, we did play the Ellis Auditorium, and then we went on and traveled all over the United States. And I was kind of in awe, because I never thought I'd go that far. I thought I'd just be a local guitar player, and but I never thought it would be what it turned out to be.
What got you in that habit of setting goals every year? Like, where'd you learn that from?
Well, I don't know. I guess when I was in school, we played on the safety council and we'd win first prize. And I'd say, that was cool. So what else can I do? Then it was the auditorium thing. Then, well, that's pretty good. All right, Johnny Cash and Carl Perkins and Orson. Well, that's pretty good. Here I'm on that. I never thought I would ever be on a stage with them, And one thing led to another, and I didn't create it. It just happened. And
well, I don't believe that. You put stuff in motion.
Yeah, I guess.
And the universe told you that supported that, that energy that you put out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't just randomly happen, I mean, maybe one thing randomly happened, but the career you've had, it would be like statistically impossible for that all to you know what I mean, to randomly happen. That's because of actions that you did. I mean, just think about it. Like, you took out that pencil and started tapping on there instead of a pick. If you hadn't done that wouldn't have been a hit.
No.
So
it wouldn't. Yeah,
man. So that's really cool. That's amazing that you did that. Like, where did you even think of that from?
Well, it's when I was playing clubs, the bass player played an upright bass, and the drummer would play like a drum solo, and then he'd reach over and play on the bass strings of the upright bass player. And I kind of got that idea from that. I said, let me see what this sounds like, with a guitar tuned down low and funky like that.
Yeah.
And like I said, instrumentals were really big back then. And it set the whole style for Bill Black. And we did a lot of shows and toured a lot, and anyway, that was one thing that we played. We were an instrumental band, and we had a guy singing with us named Gene Simmons, who had a record out. what do you have out?
Yeah, jump.
Haunted House. We cut that on him and at High Records when we were in town and just working in the studio. And Gene came in and we did that. It's an old Sam the Sham record.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Sam the Sham and the Pharaohs, right?
yeah,
I remember that. Yeah.
and Sam had it, but it was over 3 minutes. Back then, you didn't cut over 3 minutes, and he wouldn't shorten it. So we said, "Okay, we're going to cut it if you don't shorten it." And he didn't, so that's how that came about. So we cut it, and Gene had he had a big record of that,
and this was Bill's. Was this Bill Black's studio? It was his own studio that you were in.
No, it was it was a guy named Joe Coogie. He had a record shop in Memphis, and he tried to cut a few artists. He did, and I had some mediocre success, but it didn't bloom until we cut Bill Black and Gene Simmons and it was Willie Mitchell. We did. He was a trumpet player and I'm trying to think of the drummer's name, but wound up with Booker T and the MGs. Anyway, he was working there. Willie was a fine musician, a black man, and he had a black band, and they had an instrumental side, and we kind of swapped. I played on Willie's band a lot, and a lot of his players played on ours, and so it was one record we cut there that was really big. It's one of the biggest records cut at High was Dark End of the Street by James Carr. And anyway, that was a huge record for High Records. And and we cut Chuck Berry in there one time. There's a guy, what is his name? Roy DeClue. He was with Mercury Records, and he brought Chuck Berry to the studio. Then we got an album on him. This is back in the 50s, and anyway, the studio started getting very popular, and we were working quite a bit with different artists. And another funny thing, back then, I think union scale was about $65, and when the James, they'd pay us $15 a song, and when they gather up 4 songs, you could turn it into the union, and you'd have about $60,
Mm-hmm.
And when
so wait a minute, you saying you'd cut a song in 15 minutes?
No. There was no time limit back then.
Oh, so it was $65, but for what? That was just for not for an hour. It was for what was that?
When you got through it might be all week.
Oh, holy crap!
Yeah, and we weren't getting paid what we should have gotten paid. And the James Carr record was out, Dark End of the Street, and I remember the Gold Wax Records. He walked in. He came in the studio one day, and the piano player Bobby Emmons said, "Man, said James Carr's record is out and a top 10 record, and we have never been paid for it." And he said, he looked at us and said, well, is 15 cool with you?
$15.
$15.
Holy smokes.
And so,
wow. So what did you guys, how did you guys react to that?
Well, I needed the $15 back then.
Sure.
And Bobby took the $15 as a check, and he wouldn't cash it. He said, "At least I can do it best with their record keeping, you know."
Yeah.
And so he never did cash it. He framed it and hung it on the wall.
That's amazing. So how you were what, in your young 20s back then?
Gosh, I don't know.
Well, let me do the math.
Yeah, probably so.
Let me think of something. So, so you were like not even in your 20s, I think. And well, yeah, you were in your young 20s in the late 50s.
Yeah.
Okay. So so what was your like mindset about what was going on at the time as far as your music career? I'm sure you were really happy to be playing so consistently.
Right.
But what was there any thoughts going on about like either what's next or, you know, based on what you told me, hey, I need to make some more money. This isn't right. What was going through your head, if you remember, at that time? Yeah,
I remember there's a fellow named Ray Harris was one of the owners of the studio. He called me about the time of the James Carr record, and he called me and said, I hate to tell you this, but we're going to cut back from $15 a side to $10 a side. I said, you're kidding. And he said, yeah. And so we hung up, and the guy that owned the studio called me and apologized. He said, man, Ray's just trying to see how cheap he can get us to work, you know. But I knew right then I was going to go away from High Records. And the first opportunity I had was with a fellow named Chip Smoman, who had a studio in Memphis. And he wanted to know if I would want to come over there and go to work, you know, and play guitar for him. And I said, yes. So I quit High Records and got Bobby Emmons to come over with me, the piano player. And Gene Chrisman had been he was the drummer. He'd been working at Sun Records, him and Bobby Wood. And Bobby Wood was a piano player. And and Tommy Cogbill, greatest bass player I've ever heard in my life. Anyway, we all wound up over at American Studio in Memphis, and man, we cut I think 120 chart records. I mean top 10 records in about a little over 5-year period.
Wow.
Yeah.
So did you feel that at the time, not only were you happier, but did you feel like those guys got their just desserts? Like they were treating you horribly.
They were.
Yeah, that was ridiculous, you know, cutting them kind of records and hits and lowering your compensation.
Right. Oh, and then when I went to American, a session is 3 hours long. We got paid scale, but we had to make it 5 hours instead of 3 hours.
Holy smokes.
So it never was legitimate, but that was better than what. And then we'd ask a certain percent, say, well, we'll give you 5 hours if y'all will give us a certain percent of the record plus union scale. And we cut some records that way that paid a little extra, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think of some like Sweet Caroline on Neil Diamond.
Yeah.
We got paid extra for that, and but anyway, we had a very good run at American Studio.
That's great. Well, and even though they weren't paying you fairly, I guess comparatively to how completely poorly you were being treated, it probably felt like you're a millionaire.
Yeah, in Memphis. Yeah.
I want to ask you a question. In 1964, you opened up for the Beatles and you traveled around with them for 30 days. So I have a few questions. The first one is, what was the series of events that allowed this opportunity to come about?
Well, probably Bill Black, and he was contacted to. Did he want to be the opening? He would open the show, and then back up other acts until the Beatles came on.
Gotcha.
So we did that, and we went to the Cow Palace. The first show was at the Cow Palace in San Francisco, and I'll have to honestly say I didn't really know who the Beatles were.
Sure.
And this was their very first tour. But boy, I did that the first night. I mean, it was. I've never been around anything like that in my life. Screaming, hollering, kids just going nuts. They had security guards all around the bandstand, locked arms to keep the kids from getting on stage, and we had for being with the Bill Black, we wore dark lapels with BBC wrote on it, for Bill Black combo. Mm-hmm. Well, the kids thought it was British Broadcasting. And they chased us all over the place, backstage everywhere.
Which must have been fun for a young guy in his 20s.
Oh, yeah,
late,
it
right?
was. Yeah, it was. And anyway, so we did 30 days all over the United States. All over the United States, every major city in the States. And enjoyed every bit of it.
Did you get a chance to connect with any of the Beatles individually? And if so, what was your impression or experience with them?
Well, yeah, I did with George Harrison. Well, with all of them, they were all good, real nice guys back then. But nobody was doing drugs or... Anyway, George, he said, I was a blues guitar player back then. And he said, how do you bend those guitar strings like that? And I told him, I said, well, you have to have a lighter gauge string and an unwrapped third string. And he eventually went to that so he could bend strings. And we became pretty good friends. And he was a nice guy. They all were. They all were nice guys.
What guitar were you playing, and what guitar was George playing?
I think George, I think he had a Gibson. And what did I have? I think I had a Gibson. I think it was an ES-175 stereo. And when I got that guitar, I didn't like the stereo part of it, where you had to have two amps. Hmm. And I had a friend of mine, I said, can you wire this to where it's coming out mono and bypass the volume control? And so it's just kind of mainlined into an amp. And I use a volume pedal, foot pedal, to get my volume. But the volume on the guitar wasn't working. But I knew it was a pretty funky guitar. It really was.
You don't have that anymore, do you?
No, I traded. I went to, I think it was Burl Oswinger's music store in Memphis.
Man, if you tell me one more time about your memory, this is ridiculous. I mean, seriously, you were the precision of which you're not just telling me like general, it's an ES 175 stereo. I didn't just trade it, but I traded it at this music store.
Well, back then you couldn't afford to have, I couldn't afford to have two guitars. If I wanted another guitar, I had to trade my old one in on the new one.
Sure.
Well, I was at Burl Oswinger's one day, and there was a Fender Telecaster. It was black with white binding, and I still got it.
Awesome.
And they had repossessed it. Some fellow bought it and couldn't pay for it, so he just barely played it. So anyway, I played it, and I absolutely love the guitar. There it is.
There you go. That's it, and that's from 1964. Wow, look at that. So just so everybody, Reggie's showing me this beautiful black Telecaster with a white pickguard, and let me tell you, that fretboard is worn justice. That is really properly used, man. Look at that. Wow.
Actually, it's what year is this guitar?
You said it's a 69.
It's a 69.
69. What a beautiful guitar, man.
And
what a treasure, man. Thank you for showing me that.
Yeah. And
it looks like you played it a couple of times on it, huh?
Anyway, I'd never heard a guitar sound as good as this guitar. So I swapped my old Gibson in, and that's the guitar I've used ever since. I guess I played it on just about everything I've ever done, except for one other guitar, and I got it when I moved here. Was a
Let me get.
Oh, gee, she's gonna get it.
Is that the original pickups in it, or did you modify them?
Well,
in the telly.
Yeah, I modified them.
What's in there now? If you're
it's
Do you remember? We meant to look that up. Seymour.
These are the same. Wait a minute. Oh, I had a middle pickup put in.
Okay.
And this one.
Okay, gotcha.
That's a Seymour Duncan.
And it's a Seymour Duncan. And I can't think what that is.
I'm not thinking either. We'll think of it and tell you.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's really cool. So George was playing a Gibson and you were playing the ES 175, and you basically were talking guitar nerd stuff together.
Yeah, yeah.
That's really cool.
I had a Standell amplifier, which is an old tube amp. I had a 15-inch speaker in it, I think. And they had new Vox amps. They call them Super Beatles. And I know when we played the first show at the Cow Palace, when we got back on the plane, Harrison came over. He said, "Where's the guitar player with Bill Black?" I said, "Here I am." He said, "What are you playing through?" So that's louder than their big old box amps they had. And it was an old tube amp, and it sounded so good. Yeah. And there again, I swapped it for a transistor Standell amp, and it wasn't any good. It wasn't nothing. I mean, I played it live on a gig after I got home. It just didn't sound as good. So I took it back to get my amp back, and they'd already sold it. And the old tube amp, yeah. But this guitar, I played ever since I got that telly. I played that telly for years. This is a...
What year is that?
56.
56 Sunburst Strat. Beautiful.
Strat.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is gorgeous, man. Just gorgeous.
Yeah.
Wow. Did you modify the pickups in there, or are those the original Fenders?
They're modified. Yeah, they are. I still got all the original pickups.
Oh, you do? That's a beautiful guitar, Reggie. Wow.
And I don't know if you can see the back of that. I don't know if I'll show up.
There you go. Yeah.
There's an autograph on the back right there. Well, you can't see it.
Let me hold it the right way.
Can't see it. Whose autograph is it?
B.B. King.
Wow.
There, I'll get it.
That's beautiful. How cool is that? I see it. Yep. Okay. Very cool.
All right.
That's all.
Tell him that how lucky you were to get that.
Oh yeah, I did an album with him called "Love Me Tender" here in Nashville. Shortly after I moved here, and when we got through cutting the album, his drummer came over and said, "Oh, not yet," but I said, "BB, could I get your autograph?" He said, "Yeah." So that's when he sounded back on my guitar. Well, the drummer came over and said, "You're one of the luckiest men on earth." I said, "Well, how come?" He said, "BB don't sign Fenders." He just signs Gibsons. That's what he played.
Yeah.
And he said, "I've never seen him sign a Fender guitar."
Yeah, that's great. Well, you're Reggie Young, man. Anybody plays at you, he's gonna. That's the least someone could do is to bend a rule a little bit for you, Reggie. I read something where it said you were pretty adamant back in those days, and I'm assuming still, about not wanting to sound like someone else in the studio. Like they would come in and tell you, "Hey, you sound like this guy," and your mindset, and I appreciate and respect that 100%, is that you said, "Hey, I want to stay authentic and true to myself."
Absolutely.
And obviously that was the right decision to make, but I'm sure you caught some flack for it from time to time because, back then it wasn't like it is today where you could say and speak your mind and do whatever you want. It was more like someone tells you to do something, you do it. And I thought that took a lot of confidence and courage to have that position. And I was curious what gave you that confidence and the fortitude to stick with it.
I could play more like myself than I could anybody else. I know when I moved here to Nashville, one of the first sessions I did, the producer said, "Reggie, can you play kind of like
Grady?"
Well, yeah, they wanted me to play like Grady Martin, a guitar player, but his name of the record was what was it?
Good Time Charlie or Luke and Bob?
Oh yeah, said, "Can you play this one sort of like Good Time Charlie's Got the Blues?" As the record had been out. I said, "Well, yeah, I can." I said, "I played on that record." And then he said, "Oh," he said, "Well, what about you playing something like Lukenbach, Texas on this?" I said, "Yeah, I can do that. I played on it." Also, and then there was long silence, and talkback came on. His just play whatever you want to play, Don't try to copy anybody.
Wow, that's funny. But I give you credit for doing that because you probably felt a lot better about yourself doing that, and you worked hard.
If you approach that like to play like Grady, and Grady's a good player, or any other guitar player. You're just helping their career. You're not helping yours. And I didn't think that at the time. I thought more of just being what was easier for me to do, and that was play like what I played, what I play like, instead of sitting there trying to figure out what somebody else would have played. It wouldn't have been so good.
Tell Craig about when you said, "Doesn't Grady live here?"
Oh yeah. Another thing happened when I first moved here. I was really green, Anyway, they they said I was in a studio with other musicians. Well, the talkback came on, and the producer said, Reggie, can you play this like Grady Martin? And I thought for a long time. I said, don't he live here?
Like if you want Grady Martin, just get Grady Martin.
Exactly. That's what I told him.
Good for you.
I wouldn't been smart at it, but I thought, why would someone call me to play Grady Martin stuff when they could call Grady, And I thought that was pretty funny. Everybody in the studio laughed. I thought, but when I said that, I said, "Oh, I've said something I shouldn't have said."
No,
but
I think that's wonderful, man. I think you got to be yourself, and plus, you know what? At that time, you were working enough that you didn't need the money for one session to be somebody else. You had enough confidence that, you know what? If you had to walk away from the session, you're going to make your rent that month, and you're not going to be short on groceries.
Exactly.
So why the hell do you need to compromise yourself if you're in that situation? Good for you, man. I give you credit. That was the right thing to do. And I bet you everybody in that room respected you for that.
Yeah.
Even though it was funny as hell, but this is when you were in Nashville. What prompted you to leave American to come to Nashville? Because you were doing great.
Well, Chips Moorman had Americans. It was his studio, and we were sitting around after about 5 years, and Memphis had sort of dried up. And he said, Chip said, we ought to move to Atlanta and do the same thing in Atlanta that we did in Memphis. And because it's wide open, they had some publisher producers, nobody cutting a bunch of records, And oh yeah, it'd be fun. Well, he was serious. We weren't. And we showed up a couple of weeks later, and the front door was ripped off, and they moved the board out, and it was going to Atlanta.
Wow. And
so those that wanted to go could, and anyway, I did. So we went to Atlanta, and nothing. I think we got Roger Miller down there, and but nothing really happened at all. So I lasted about 2 or 3 weeks, and I told Mom, and I said, Chips, I said, we're friends. I said, I got to be honest with you. I can't handle Atlanta anymore, because there's nothing going on. And so he said, well, give me 2 weeks' notice so I can sell the studio, because he's wanting to go somewhere else. And so I had to, who did I get a call from? Kristofferson. Why me, Lord? Kristofferson. He called, and I had to turn that down because I was working out for 2 weeks down there for Chips.
So you got back in those days, Kris actually picked up the phone and called you.
Yeah, well, his producer did, named Fred Foster, with the Monument Records. And so anyway, I had to wait 2 weeks before I could take any outside sessions. So after 2 weeks, I drove from Atlanta to Memphis, and stopped on my way here in Nashville. I stopped at Quadraphonic Studio. I had two friends that had that studio. One of them was a guy named David Briggs, a keyboard player. And David said, "How long are you going to be here?" I said, "I don't know, I'm just driving back to Memphis." He said, "Well, you want to work?" And I said, "Yeah, I will." And I've been here ever since.
Oh, wow. What year? And that was in what year?
72.
1972.
Yeah.
And so you were probably 35 there?
I don't know. I hadn't figured that one out.
Okay. So you got here in 72 and you started, did you work only at Quadraphonic Studios or did you work at a lot of places?
No, I worked at a lot of places. A lot of the producers here would come to Memphis and bring their artists and use our band. And especially at Moment Studio, just Moment, American. And so I knew most of the producers here. So when I moved here, I just went right to work, more or less.
So you worked steady right from the get-go?
Pretty much.
You were 36.
36, Jeannie said.
Gotcha. Thanks. Okay, so let's talk about some of the guys you've worked with. You already mentioned Barry and B.B. King, and I was curious. I'm going to put some names out there. If you could tell me, how the gig came about, and maybe if you have an interesting story about working with these guys.
Okay.
So let's talk about Eric Clapton first.
All right, I met Eric when I did that Beatles tour. I did 30 days here, and then went to Europe for 30 days. That was part of the deal.
Oh, wow.
And he was, who was he with? The Yardbirds back then. And so we really hit it off because he was a blues player and I was too, And then fast forward, how long ago has that been?
Probably 5, 6 years.
About 5 years, 6 years ago. The phone rang, and I was in a park, and the phone rang, and he said, "I need to speak to Reggie Young." I said, "This is him." He said, "Oh, hello." I said, "This is Eric Clapton." And I looked at the phone and almost hung up. I almost hung up.
Because you thought someone was playing with you.
Yeah. But
because it had been like, what, 50 years since you seen him?
Yeah, it'd been a while. And he said, no, it said, have we met and all that? So I knew it was him then. And what had happened, Cale, I had played on a bunch of cocaine and all those records that Eric had done, a bunch of his records. And so he said, "Do you still know," and he named off
Cajun Moon
and other songs that J.J. Cale had done and I'd played on. I said, "Yeah, I probably do." I said, "If I heard it again, I could learn my part on it, And he said, "Okay." And we set up a time to do that. So, what's his producer's name?
Simon Climby.
It's Simon Climby. was in L.A. or was in England. I don't know where. Anyway, he came down and Sonny and I did the overdubs, and then he called Eric, and there was one that he was going. One song on Eric's album he's going to put horns on, and after Eric heard what I'd done on JJ's record, he said, "No, put that on my record." So I said, "Okay," and it was a lot of fun. It was good talking to Eric. Yeah,
that's funny. After 50 years, you get a phone. It's funny that it took. You wonder why it took him so long to call you. In all honesty, like why? What about this record? Why? He's made a ton of records.
I know he did something down in Miami one time, and I got a call to come down there and play on it, and but I was working. I couldn't. I had to cancel, which is something I would never do. If I had it booked and I didn't cancel one guy to do another guy, it wouldn't be fair. And so
that was probably his. I think it was called 462 Ocean Boulevard. That record where he recorded it down in Miami.
Maybe so.
Yeah,
maybe so.
It was in the 80s, maybe early.
Yeah,
late 70s, early 80s. Yeah, that was probably it. Wow. Bobby Womack. I was wondering, is there any chance you played on 110th Street?
No.
I love that song.
Yeah. I loved him too. He's my favorite guitar player.
Bobby Womack.
Yeah.
How did that come up?
He came to town with Wilson Pickett, and we both played on Wilson's record. Remember one record was called "I'm in Love." It was a big Pickett single, and Bobby was left-handed and I'm right-handed, so we sat in front of each other. And excuse me, and so I watched him play, and he watched me play. He could take my guitar and play it without it'd be upside down and all goofed up, and I just loved the way he played, and he started doing my style of playing, and I started doing this.
Oh, that must have been cool.
Yeah, and he married who was it? Sam Cooke's wife, and he said Manson. He wanted to move to Memphis because he wanted to be. He moved to Memphis because he was living with Sam's widow, and of course she had Sam's house, and it was really, really nice. And he said he couldn't get funky in there, right? So he rented an apartment in Memphis, an old beat up place. That he said so he could get in the mood and write blues and stuff. So that's what he did, and we played on a bunch of records together.
It sounds like you had good chemistry with him and a lot of fun.
It was. I admired him. I mean, I really admired him.
What about him and his playing did you admire so much?
Well, not only did he play thirds and stuff like that I did, he played the double stops and just his whole approach to playing was there was nobody sounded like Bobby Womack. And I picked up, he'd show me stuff. Well, I'd learn that, and then I'd add my own thing to it to make it mine instead of his. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, you learned a lot from each other.
Yeah.
That's great.
And vice versa, he'd do the same thing. And he had this guitar, I don't know what kind it was. Somebody made it in New York. And it was a hollow body when he first came to town. And I had that Telly. He traded that guitar for a Telecaster. And I thought, man.
Wow.
Yeah. Because that guitar sounded so good when he played. One song.
But man,
Fly Me to the Moon. I don't know if you remember that or not.
It's an old one.
He's like a one-man band.
Bobby.
And, yeah.
Yeah, but you must have been a pretty big influence on him, though, to just get rid of that hollow body guitar he's playing funk with and pick up a Telly. So that's really nice.
That's quite a compliment.
Yeah, definitely, very much so.
But I really like Waylon. He influenced my playing more than any other guitar player I can think of.
Wow. Write that down in red. Wow, that's a pretty big thing. I mean, it's not like you haven't been around a lot of guitar players. That's pretty powerful stuff. Talk about Joe Cocker.
Joe Cocker. I forget the producer that he came to town with, was at David Briggs' studio up in Nashville. And the House of David is the name of it. And there was one song I remember it had a real funky intro. I was playing, and the record didn't make it, by the way. But it was really good. I mean, we had a great cut on it. And it wasn't too long after that, we cut Reba McEntire a record called Little Rock, and I used the same intro that I used on Joe Cocker.
There you go.
Because nobody ever heard that record on Joe, but he was a very soulful guy, real soulful, and
I was talking to someone recently, and they described you that way. I was talking to Leroy Parnell.
Oh, yeah.
And I had mentioned to him that you and I would be doing this call, and he said, man, Reggie's a really soulful cat. That's how, you know how Leroy talks, he's real mellow and real laid back. And he said, Reggie's a real soulful cat.
But he is too. He's one of the best slide players I've ever heard.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
And he is a good soulful person himself, for sure.
Yeah.
I want to talk about your album, Forever Young, in just a minute, but I want to ask you a few questions about Little Reggie first. Where are you originally from, and where'd you grow up?
I grew up in a little town in Arkansas, 50 miles north of Memphis, called Osceola, 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 Arkansas. And at the time I lived there, it was population was about 5,000.
Wow, that's tiny.
Yeah. And it was just a great place to grow up in. I had a paper route, and I learned a lot while I was there. I even had a bank account. And, when I was 12, 13 years old, And
so,
but yeah.
What was your childhood like there?
It was good. I didn't play guitar then, but I played French harp a little bit. And one thing I remember, there was a radio station they had just built in Osceola, KOSE. And they asked me to come by at the one of those companies in town. Might have been the Chamber of Commerce. I can't remember. Anyway, they had a 30-minute show on the radio, and they asked me to, would I come by and play harmonica? And I said, yeah, and I played a song called Lavender Blue. That's the first time I ever played on radio. I was scared to death.
I bet. How old were you?
Probably 13, 12 or 13.
Have you ever played harmonica professionally? Like,
no.
That was just a thing as a little kid.
Yeah.
You have any brothers or sisters growing up with you?
Yeah, I have a sister who's 2 years older than I am. No.
She lives here.
Yeah, she lives here now.
Oh, that's great. So do you get to see her?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
just down the road.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's really nice.
Yeah.
Was she into music at all?
Not as a player, no.
So you're playing harmonica. How did you get into guitar?
We moved to Memphis when I was 14, and my dad played guitar, and anyway, I'd bang around on his guitar some, and but he showed me a few chords, and then that Christmas of 1950, I guess, Santa Claus brought me a flat top National. The strings were way off the neck. It's hard to play. And so he showed me everything he knew. He played Hawaiian guitar, not steel guitar, but Sweet Lilani and all those Hawaiian songs. He could play all that stuff. And he taught me what he knew for playing acoustic guitar. And I wanted to learn melodies and stuff before I learned the chords. So I remember I hadn't had a guitar very long, and I went and got at the pawn shop in Memphis. I went and got a DeArmond pickup and put on that flat top guitar. And my neighbor built me amplifier out of a jukebox amplifier.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So I was electrified then.
Yeah.
So nobody was stopping me. And then I played at school with a guy named Red Williams, and he played, rhythm, and he sang a lot of country songs, and I would play my electric guitar. Finally, I got I guess it was an old Gibson, and anyway, it was easier to play, and that's all I ever did. I'd come home from school and sit and practice all day long. And but anyway.
What kind of work did your dad do?
He was an accountant.
An accountant?
Yeah.
That's great. And did your mom work, or was she stay-at-home mom?
No, she did. She worked at Massengill's drugstore in Osceola. And they had a counter with you go there and get a sandwich or a Coke or something. She did that, and then she sold stuff from behind the counter at the drugstore. And I remember she used to come home and have tip money. and I'd have her count the dimes, nickels, and stuff when I was a little kid.
Hey, Craig.
Yep.
That man Reggie was saying, Red Williams.
Yeah.
He told me a sweet story about Reggie. He went over, I guess it was like in the morning, like about 9 o'clock after breakfast, talk to Reggie, to meet Reggie, Saturday morning. And Reggie was in his bed. His mama said, he's back there asleep. And Red went in there, and Reggie was asleep with his guitar in his hands. So,
awesome. That's great.
That says a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Talk about commitment, huh?
Yeah.
Been sleeping there all night.
Yeah.
That's great. That's a good story. Thank you for telling me that. Thank you for sharing it. That's great.
He still plays guitar in his sleep. His hands will be going. I'm like, what is this?
But he doesn't sleep with the guitar anymore, I hope, right?
No.
Okay. So let me ask you this. You've obviously got, you seem like you have a very entrepreneurial spirit in a sense. The independence and like having the confidence and wanting to do it your way and believing in yourself and not really being too concerned about the risks that you're taking. Not that I'm saying you're cavalier, but you know what I'm saying? You have an entrepreneurial spirit. Where did that come from, do you think?
Gosh, I don't know. I've always been that way. Maybe because I couldn't play like somebody else, but back when I just played what I knew best, and I stayed real true to myself. I didn't try to say, "Oh, I'm so and so. I'll play like so." Although I did copy Chet Atkins for a while, and
you weren't alone.
But when I had to come up with something, it was usually out of my own head.
Yeah.
Kinky kind of influenced you.
Oh, yeah, and there's a fiddle player. That's of all people. His name is Kinky King. He passed away a few years ago. But he's from Little Rock. And so I learned, I was influenced by Western swing back in my early years. And Bob Wills and people like that. And he was a swing fiddle player. And he didn't like Nashville at all. And he probably influenced my early playing to be a soloist. And
but he said you'd never make it if you...
Oh, I had a thumb pick. I was playing with a thumb pick. And he said, why you got that thumb pick? He said, all you're doing is selling Chet Atkins records. I said, well, and he said, if I was you, I'd get me a straight guitar pick and learn your own style. And so that's what I did.
Oh, that's good that you listened to him.
Yeah. He's a good player.
Because that's not easy to change picks. I mean, that's a tough thing to do. Whichever way you're changing, it's like a pretty difficult thing.
But then I could play finger style. I learned how to do that. And then I could play with a pick.
Before we talk about your record, one more thing. In no particular order.
All right.
What are your top 3 recording experiences? And then what are the top 3 records you're most proud of your own work on?
Wow. My
top 3 experiences.
Probably when I moved here, one of the first things I played on was Dobie Gray's record of Driftaway. And that sort of helped me get in because a lot of the country artists, when they book sessions, they'd say, well, I'm with that guitar player that played on Driftaway. And they were trying to, but that was an R&B record,
Yeah.
Nah. So anyway, that was good. So the question was,
what are your top 3 recording experiences? Like, which 3 sessions or recordings you made did you have the most fun, or for whatever reason were the most memorable to you? But I have one question that you mentioned. You brought something up, that the Dobie Gray was an R&B and you're in the country town. Did you get any flack at the time for stepping out of your conventional Nashville stuff?
not really, because they all wanted that.
Okay.
They wanted the guitar player that played on Driftaway, and because there's so many records sounding like, and that was different. It's first, I guess, R&B, some of the first R&B records to come out of Nashville.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. Did you get any flack for playing on that record in the first place? Like, no. Okay, it wasn't. Okay.
No. And I remember one session, I went to California and played in the Capitol, the round Capitol building studio. They opened it up again, and I was out there with Willie Nelson, and the name of the album was Healing Hands of Time, and they had 70 musicians on it. 70 musicians.
Wow, who was paying that bill?
Yeah.
Holy smokes.
And so it was all, they had a director and all that, and when he had a guitar solo to come up, you couldn't make a mistake. It was 70, not with 70 players.
Yeah.
And the string section and all that. And but it turned out real good. I think I'll never forget those sessions with Willie.
Because of their size and scope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see, what's his name produced that? A fellow named Jimmy Bowen. I worked a lot with Jimmy Bowen. I guess I worked with him more than anybody else in Nashville. And then maybe the Dusty Springfield sessions in Memphis were good. She was a little reluctant when she came in because we'd do like we would with anybody else, have her become a part of the band. In other words, we play something, I'll come out and play something on guitar and I'll say, does that sound all right to you? And she didn't know what to say because she's always used to having vocals done, not her vocals, but somebody else, and then she would come in and sing her part, And so I think that's the first time she took part in her own music, And that record still sounds good.
It does.
And yeah.
And so so you just wanted her to be involved in her own, you're in the service business, she's your client effectively, and you wanted to make sure your client was happy.
Yeah, that's what we did with everybody.
Yeah.
In other words, instead of her becoming our singer, we wanted to become her band.
Yeah.
And it worked out pretty good. And another thing I remember, we did, what's the name of the song? It's on a saxophone player, King Curtis.
Yeah.
And King, what's this record we did? Memphis Soul Stew was the name of it. And he came to town in Memphis with like Wilson Pickett or a lot of Atlantic Records artists. And anyway, he wanted to do an album, so that's what we were doing. And we got up and went next door to it's like a meat and three restaurant, and we were sitting there, and he picked a menu up, and the menu said, today's special is Memphis soul stew. He's made it up off his head. Today's special is Memphis soul stew. Till we make so much of this, we're going to list what we put in it. And he said, you start out with fatback drums, a teacup bass. He went down the whole list, making it up. And he got through, we all looked at each other and got up and went over and cut that record, Memphis Soul Stew.
That's great.
Probably the first take.
Wow.
Yeah. And I remember he was the first guy, he influenced me to play, instead of playing some, and say, oh, wait a minute, I need to fix that. And going back to play solos from front to back, and not doing that. And because you get too picky, and I know he would play solos, and gosh, it'd be just as good all the way through. He wouldn't stop unless he made a terrible mistake. And but that helped me working with him to play solos and stuff, and not have to stop and go back and fix something. But that thing, well, I'm going to be like King Curtis and do it correct. You know? So
he sort of demanded that we're going to do this in one take, and we're going to go beginning to end. We're not stopping, kind of thing.
Well, that's what he usually did. I would before King, I might play a solo, but then I'd go back and I want to change this, I want to fix this, or do something a little different. And he more or less taught me, not knowing, just watching him, I could play stuff without being so critical. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah. So he taught you to like kind of accept what you're doing a little better.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's a tough thing for, I think, studio musicians in general.
Yeah.
Because
it is.
Especially nowadays where technology's so easy to switch and punch in and this and that.
I know. Yeah, it is.
And how about the top 3 records that you're most proud of your own work on them? Doesn't have to be a hit, just stuff you're real proud of your work.
Well, one, I remember I had Suspicious Minds, and we'd cut that on a guy named, the writer, a guy named Mark James, and we cut it pretty much the same way we did Elvis. And how long was it? In 2 years or 3 years, I got a plaque saying that he had sold 40 million.
Wow. In 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. That was about 3 years ago.
Well, you got the plaque.
I got the plaque. Who
it's a grant from the Grammys.
Yeah, I think it was from the Grammys.
They awarded it to you for playing on Suspicious Minds.
Yeah.
That's great. And you were really happy with your work on that.
Yeah. I'm really having my work on Drift Away, Dobie record. And then there's some country things. That's the Way Love Goes with Merle Haggard.
Mm-hmm.
And I did a lot of work with Merle, and he was a good artist.
Sit Here and Drink. You like that?
Sit Here and Drink was one of them, yeah. I think I had 5 solos in that.
Wow.
Yeah. And I kept waiting for him to stop the tape, not looking up at the record light was on, and I couldn't quit playing until they turned that off. So I had 5 solos, and they kept every bit of it.
That's great. So Suspicious Minds, Drift Away, That's the Way Love Goes.
Yeah.
And that's great.
I think it's Stay Here and Drink.
And
Is it Stay Here?
Stay Here and Drink.
Stay Here and Drink.
Yeah,
It's on the same album as That's the Way Love Goes.
Great. Well, thank you for sharing.
And Son of a Preacher Man was a good one.
Sure was.
How'd you come up with that one?
I don't know.
How did you come up with that one?
I don't know. It just did.
Just came up.
Yeah.
Do you find were there situations where you knew what you were going to play the next day, or every time you went in there it was brand spanking new?
Well, it was pretty much brand spanking new. Unless we had started something and then finished it the next day, and if I thought it was good enough, I kept it. But some of the songs were really good. We had a team of writers at American that we usually demoed a lot of their songs, and whenever people like Elvis or somebody come in, we'd have an idea of what we were going to play, you know. But we all thought the same. That was a good band in American. That was a very good band. And
what do you? I don't know if this is a question that there's an answer to, but is there something that you can attribute your ability to come up with the right lick for the right song? I mean, like, was there a state of mind that you, like, I mean, I'm thinking there has to be some approach, just some systematic, maybe not organized, but some way in your head that you looked at something that's different.
Well, the music has a lot to do with it. You try not to repeat yourself if something's come out, but you still want to complement the song. But most of it's instant. You just instant. You play some little something and say, "Oh, I like that." Okay, I'll try to remember that. And
but were you like? And I'm only asking this because you've done this so many, like thousands and like tens of thousands of times, where it's been like perfect. So I like. Did you think about like reaching somebody or like connecting? Because you're a great connector. That's what you're great at. You build a connection from a song to a human. I mean, I just, to do that so consistently and at such a high level over so long, I'm just curious. I'd love to know like how your brain works almost to do that. You know, I mean, it's like it's such an amazing, rare skill.
Well, I guess I always approached songs and the singer like I was their guitar player, and they weren't my singer. And I try to play what's going down when the song is down. Usually, something will come to me, or gosh, I don't know. I don't intentionally. Do that. It just happened. I don't know how to say it.
Okay, so maybe let me ask it differently, and maybe this is, and I know you're not, that your answer to this is not saying bragging on yourself, but how do you think you did this differently than other people? That's
because, well, one thing here, I guess I tried to stay away from the country music, the hillbilly music, and I do what I always have done, even back in Memphis. I'll play in Nashville pretty much the same way I did back then. I was always honest with myself.
That's it, man.
Yeah.
So that's the answer. So, okay. So you didn't think about any expectations that other people might have had, or any boundaries. You just gave your heart and soul into making that work.
Yeah.
And as if you were the artist or the singer's guitar player.
Yeah.
Like as if that was your band, like you said with Dusty.
Right. Yeah.
Man, that's I was always honest with myself. That's really powerful.
Yeah.
Because I think you need a certain level of confidence to do that, and a certain level of not caring about what other people think, and that is sometimes tough to come by.
Well, I think it got easier after I'd had success, playing with other people, that I tried not to I just played what I thought.
You're just honest with yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it also sounds like you didn't fall into the trap of like, okay, I did X, Y, and Z successfully. Now I got a lot of pressure on me. It just sounds like you kept that honest vibe, and that was your focus, and that's what allowed you to do this.
Yeah, exactly.
Tremendous.
Hey, Craig.
Yes.
I got to witness one of the most incredible things. And this was out in L.A., and you were recording with Mike Post and Jimmy Bowen doing Merle's last record.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one of his last records, Chicago Wind. And they had I got to come in on the last day, and they'd saved a solo for Reggie. And the studio was like sunk down. It was like a stage. Everybody was standing all around. Like Leland Sklar was there, the great bass player.
Yeah, sure.
And Billy Joe Walker was there, just to name a few. I can't remember that drummer, but everybody was incredible. Merle was there. Willie was there. Everybody was staring at Reggie, right? Because he was doing this overdub. And I'm like, oh, my God, my heart's beating really fast. And he's like noodling around. He's doing this noodle, classic Reggie Young noodle. And he kind of looks at me and goes, I don't have a clue what I'm going to play. And everybody's like, oh. But what I know is he really meant it, And he plays this solo. And it's still on that song. They just took it. The first thing, like, it was just like God came right down through his head. It was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Am I right?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Man, thank you. Those are great. And
I don't mean to be interrupting, but it was.
No, that's why you're here. You're supposed to interrupt and correct us and give us
No correction.
and give
That
us
was
the
just an,
the
that
correct.
was an addition. I mean, most
Fill us-
people would have
fill
fallen
us
down
in.
and had a heart attack with just Merle there, and all these people were there. It's something.
Yeah,
I never seen anything like that in my life.
That's amazing.
And the whole place burst out applauding. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you allow yourself to feel good at a time like that? So when you deliver something like that and everybody's, applauding you, do you allow yourself to feel good and take that in, or you do? Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it'd be easy to just say, move on to the next thing. But it's good that you did that. I think that's important.
Oh, yeah. Better they like it than not like it.
Good point. So before I ask you this, I want to say something I said off before we started. I just want to say to everybody listening that I've only recently met you guys, and I just want people to understand that the warmth and optimism that I feel coming from the two of you, I feel that when I listen to the songs on your record.
Oh, wow.
And so I wanted to thank you for making that, because for me, what makes me like or dislike a piece of music is the energy coming out of it, I mean, sometimes you listen to a piece of music and it's, it's okay, but at the end of it, you basically have the same energy as you did before, right?
Yeah.
But other times you listen to a piece of music and you have more physical or emotional energy at the end. And to me, that's what I like, a good piece of music. And that's how every single song on your album made me feel. So I want to thank you for making this record. And
wow, thank you.
Just thank you guys for being yourself. Honestly, it's just, you're just very warm people. That being said, if you listen closely to the record, it's like a master class in song composition. In song structure, and in especially in the musical unity between the instrument, all the instruments. And I was going to say, it sounds like you guys are a band that's been together for 30 years. And I said, wait a minute. In a sense, they probably they have been playing together for 30 years, and that comes out. So my first question is, what prompted you to make a record after all these years?
Well, when I go. Usually in the studio, I would tune up, and there's little chords and things I'd play. And I remember every now and then somebody said, "What's that you're playing?" I said, "I'm just tuning up." And I said, "Why don't you record that?" I said, "That sounds good." I said, it's not nothing. So as I got where I wasn't working as much, I didn't want to do it when I was so busy, because you had to get off work and go home and go to work,
Yeah.
And so I started using some of those tuning things as pieces of songs, not like the other parts to it, but I never thought it would be what am I trying to say? Something as structured as that. And but I like the guitar parts. I'd like. Now I gave we went to Muscle Shoals. There's a studio down there that I like called La La Land, and I went down there with.
That's a great name for a studio, by the way.
Yeah. Anyway, I went down there with David Hood playing bass, Clayton Ivy, keyboard player, and Chad Cromwell was drummer, and Jenny was a cellist. And so anyway, I went down there, and I guess I cut most of the tunes down there. And what made it hard for me was these guys were so good, and you're right, we've worked together for years and years, and I don't need to tell them what to play because they know what to do, you know. And so I got home with the music, and I told Jenny, I said, I want to play that and see what it sounds like. And I didn't like it at all.
Really?
No.
Was this
was
this pre-mixed or final that you didn't like?
Well, it
was a rough mix.
It's a rough mix.
Rough mix.
And the guitar part, I absolutely hated the guitar part, the sound of it. So
what happened to the lessons that King Curtis taught you?
Well, he didn't teach me how to produce and to play at the same time.
You weren't a very good artist.
No. So I listened to what I'd done down there, and I told Jenny, I said, I think it's salvageable. So,
that's funny that you're saying that. I think this is salvageable.
I got all their parts were great. I mean, their parts were really good.
They were,
and I just couldn't stand the guitar part. So I said, if I redo the guitar parts, I think that's a step in the right direction. And so that's what I did. I got an engineer to come out here to the house, and I did it here at home. And it did. It turned out real good.
Yeah, sure did.
And I said, well, there's still something missing. So Jim Horn is a great horn player. Him and well, I didn't go over and listen to it. I said, can you think of anything to write on top of all that stuff? And he was going to New York or somewhere for a couple of weeks. Anyway, he wrote the horn parts for the thing. His own idea. I don't need to tell him what to do. He knows, like me and all the rest of us. So he had the horn parts. We did them here at the house too. In the bedroom was the horns, and so that was on what we'd done in Alabama, and then I did my guitar parts here, and then what Jim had done, and it was really sounding good. I mean, really sounding good. Then there's a studio here in town. What does he call that studio?
Turner Up. Turner Up.
Oh, Turner Up. A guy named Robbie Turner has a studio, and he's a steel guitar player, an excellent steel guitar player. And he did all the mixing, and there was a couple of songs we cut that we used Moose Brown. Who was he with?
Bob
Seger. I interviewed Moose. I know Moose.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So Moose, and then David Hungate, bass player. And we cut It's About Time, right?
And Jennifer.
And Jennifer, the last song on and out of Robbie's, and Robbie mixed the whole album, and he did a wonderful job.
Man, he sure did. That is clean as a whistle. That is so. I listened to it this morning, just because to prep for this, just to get my mind,
Yeah.
And it is clean, man. And I'm glad you told me about the horns, because I was wondering if you wrote those horn parts, because they're
no, that's Jim Horn.
Man, they are perfect, and they're laid up just in the right place at the right time and the melodies, man. They're really, really nice. Very complimentary.
And he didn't put horns on everything, just on what he thought would be good for the album, you know.
Mm.
And it was Jim and Charles Rose from Muscle Shoals played
Trombone.
Trombone, yeah. And
Steve Herman.
Steve Herman played trumpet. And they came out here and we did it in the bedroom.
Did the bedroom get credit? Is the bedroom on the
No.
recorded at La La Studio, La La Land in Reggie's bedroom? I didn't see that. I didn't see that on there.
No, we should have.
He should have. That would have been great.
But,
You made a comment a few minutes ago. You said, you didn't want to do this earlier because you didn't want to come home from work and go to work. Were you pretty balanced during your career where, you had a life outside of work? Or maybe I should be asking Jenny this.
yeah.
Well, when Reggie was so busy, we weren't married yet. See, Reggie and I have been married, we've known each other 17 years. Yeah. But so you'd have to ask his kids, and his wife is late from that time. I mean, she's passed away now.
Yeah,
so
I understand.
Yeah. So I don't know the answer to that.
What do you think is the answer, Reggie? Were you balanced, or because it seems
Did you
like you
work?
were, or was
I
it?
think so.
You
Well,
think so?
one thing we were both working with Waylon Jennings. Waylon introduced us, and he said, "Y'all are the loneliest people I've ever met."
Yeah, you do.
He said that. He said that about you two.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny.
So Waylon was such a nice guy. He really was. He had a bad reputation, but I never saw that side of him. And I had time. We take a lot of trips. In fact, we was going to take one last week, and we was going out to Arizona. We were just going to drive out and take our time.
Oh wow!
Stop whenever we wanted to do. And
Well, you have a lot more time now, though.
yeah, we have a lot more time.
You were pretty busy.
Yeah,
I can't imagine playing on all those sessions.
yeah.
I should show one of your session books. I'll just hold it up.
Yeah, let me see that. That'd be interesting.
Yeah, this is a good one. It says 1976. Let me find a good page
That's
here.
pretty impressive that you've got all those records from back in the day.
Golly.
Are you pretty organized, Reggie?
Yeah.
Jenny, is he pretty organized?
He's with his session books. I
Okay.
will say that.
Okay.
Golly.
And
Session books go.
Well, also you had to get paid, so that's why you had to keep that.
And can you see that?
Wow,
You probably can't see
it's
that.
it's like an accounting journal, and every single column
That
and
comes
every
from your
single,
daddy.
yeah, every
I never
single
thought of that.
debits on the left, credits on the right. Every
Yeah,
single
look at
line
that.
is
Look at
filled
that.
up. It's like a real.
I'll just
old
look at these
school-
names. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jesse Coulter, Dave and Sugar. This is just one page. Let's see. T.G. Shepard, Dotsy, Freddie Fender, Billy Swan.
Wow.
Golly, darling. Wilson Pickett. There's Jesse Coulter again. Mickey Newberry, Ray Stevens, Charlie Rich.
Wow, that's amazing.
Goodness gracious. Yeah, I wish you were here to check these out. When you come,
I will.
you come look at these things.
Yeah, they go back to 1964.
I'll tell you what, Jenny, as much as I appreciate that, I think when I come, I think the time would be better spent looking at Reggie's guitars and his journals. if I'm being totally honest.
But you can do that too.
Yeah. But the reason I kept a journal was I'd write down the artist and then I'd leave it blank. When I got paid, I'd write in that I got paid.
Yeah, of course.
I could look at the page, and if it was blank, say, oh, I didn't pay for that, so I'd call them and tell them.
Absolutely. Yeah. That makes total sense. You had to. No one else is going to do it, right?
No.
On the album, the order of the songs is really, really perfect. Like the first song makes perfect sense to open up with. The last one's a perfect closer.
Yeah.
And I know that's not random luck. You don't just throw numbers up in the air and say, or songs and say, okay, they come in this order. And I was wondering if you had some sort of a process that you used to structure the song order, or how you went about making the song order selections.
No, I didn't, other than, slow, fast, slow, medium, or whatever have you. And but the last song, I think, was perfect, and the first song was perfect.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's talk about them. Let's talk about Coming Home to Leaper's Fork. So it's a real beautiful song. As we just talked about, it's a perfect album opener. And the opening lines, man, it gave me chills the first time I heard it.
Wow.
And I was curious if there's a backstory to that song. Where did it come from?
Well, it is. We were in Belgium. Who was we over there with? Waylon?
Memphis Boys.
Oh, Memphis Boys, which was
American band.
American band. We were over there. And so when they left, after that tour was over, Jenny and I stayed for a week or two and just knocking around in Belgium and around. And so we caught a train, wasn't it?
Yeah, to Paris.
A train to Paris, and it was hustle and bustle. And then we got on a plane in New York, same thing, and a lot of people, and then a plane to Nashville, and then as we came out here where we lived, it got real quiet and laid back, and the next day I was out on the screen porch with my guitar, and I was playing this little tune, and Jenny said, what are you playing?
And you named it Coming Home to Leaper's Fork.
Yeah. And I just heard it. I'd start off playing, and then we had the band come in.
Oh, yeah.
And so that was the first song, Coming Home to Leapers from Belgium. And it seemed to fit in.
Yeah, it did.
And anyway, we went on through to the last song. I had written this last song, Jennifer, maybe 13 or 14 years ago. And I had a number chart of the chords, and I'd carried around with me for years and years. And we was over at Robbie's studio, and I told the guys, I said, we got about 30 minutes left on the time. I said, I've got this song that I'd like to see what we could do with it. I said, I've got the chords. I'll call the chords out to them. And I said, well, y'all know what to do. And I said, but just think of Aretha Franklin, like a Aretha Franklin ballad.
Mm-hmm.
You're getting you sweet.
Anyway, so we took a take on it.
Oh man, you're totally perfect. You just be you.
Yeah.
Don't stop doing that now.
He likes that song. I do too.
It's a beautiful song, man, especially with the B3 in the background. It's like you're in
Oh,
church.
man.
That's Moose.
Yeah.
That's Moose.
Oh, that's Moose. It's like that was
Isn't that
great.
good?
Man. Yeah, that sounds amazing.
So we did it in one take.
Wow.
It was two. Yeah. And
I remember when you wrote me that little melody. It was when we were dating.
Yeah.
We've been married 14 years, and he was all nervous, and he came and he had this song. He's like, oh, I want you to hear this. It's called Jennifer. He was so nervous. And I was like, it's beautiful.
It is.
Gosh, like the. And for the record, Craig, I said, well, you don't have to call it Jennifer. Call it something else. Nope. That's the name of it, Jennifer.
Oh, you got to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How'd you come up with the ending of that song? Because it was really pretty, and it was, quite a departure from the rest of the song.
I really just one of them things. I was playing and got her to play it with me.
Yeah.
And
Strings by Reggie Young.
where did it come from?
I don't even know. You just noodled with that.
And but anyway.
That's one of those things, though, Reggie. I don't. In the end of a song like that, it takes a. That's not an average songwriter can't do that.
No.
No. Even your cat agrees.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you don't.
Yeah,
that takes a song and makes it from a 9 to a 10.
Okay.
Well, yeah.
That's a nice compliment.
It just really does. It really it's really creative and it's really appropriate, and it's not what you're expecting, which is really nice. So you take the listener on a journey that I wasn't. This is cool. I wasn't planning on going here. This is all right.
Right. So,
Jenny, did you have a story about that?
The ending?
About the song in general, or was that what you talked about when Reggie wrote the song for you?
Yeah, I was just telling about when he wrote it. He was afraid I wouldn't like it.
Oh, it's a beautiful song, man. Soul Love. Man, you got that old school like Stax groove in there. It was like, honestly, I thought it was like, walking through the park on a sunny day, life's all good, everything's feeling good. And again, you got the horns in there. You got when you're playing your melody line and the horns are tracking kind of like the same melody line with you. I thought it was really cool, man. Is there a backstory to that?
No, it's sort of I guess it would go back to Memphis. Those chord changes, like an R&B ballad sort of thing, and you tend to play a lot of stuff behind vocalists with those chord changes and stuff, and so I guess it derives from that. I didn't really think about it.
Yeah,
it just,
it had that Memphis sound, man. It was great.
Yeah.
It's really cool. Really just like an old school Memphis style song.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of the questions I wanted to ask you was, what were some of the obstacles that you had to overcome either early on or at any point during this journey, either personal or music related or business related?
Well, I remember years ago when I was working with Johnny Horton. You had the record out called North to Alaska, I think. And I was living in Shreveport before I went in the Army, and I was living in a hotel there in Shreveport. Well, Horton would go out, and he'd make a lot more money. I was making $25 when we go play somewhere.
Tell them how far you went for $25.
Yeah, we went to. I remember one time we drove all the way from Shreveport to Phoenix and back for $25.
You went from Shreveport to Phoenix and back?
Yeah, yeah. And,
holy smokes!
But I didn't care. I was working.
Yeah, I hear you.
You know, and that was one thing I guess I overcame. And
didn't you have to pawn your razor to eat?
oh yeah, when I was in Shreveport at the pawn, I had an electric razor. I had to pawn it in order to eat.
Wow.
Yeah. And
what is a razor worth in food?
Didn't you tell me you ate rice pudding from a Chinese restaurant?
yeah, Chinese restaurant had across the street from the hotel had rice pudding, and it was the cheapest thing on the menu.
There you
But it
go.
was one of the biggest things, though.
Oh, so you got a good volume
Yeah,
to price ratio. That's good. Yeah.
yeah,
That's you got to think about when you're hungry. How much is going to fill my belly?
yeah.
I hear you, man.
But I had some good friends down there. One was a guy named David Houston. He had a song called "Almost Persuaded" that was a big record. But he was a friend of mine.
Wouldn't let you starve.
No, he wouldn't let me starve.
That's good.
Yeah. But I was working.
Yeah,
Wasn't making much money, but I was working.
sure. If let me the last question. If you could go back and give advice to your younger self at any point in time, what advice would you have given yourself?
Well, probably to be honest about my playing, not try to copy anybody, be honest with yourself. Do what you do. Either they're going to like it or they're not going to like it. But I never really had that problem.
Yeah, it seems like you did that.
Yeah. So.
So you really you didn't make too many mistakes when it comes down to it. As far as in looking back at your career, you handled yourself in pretty well. Is what it sounds like.
Well, you should be honest with yourself and not try to be somebody else, and hope that works for you. And I was very lucky.
And you were always respectful and on time, and you didn't do drugs. You didn't have any of those problems.
And I gave as much to the no-name artist as I did to the name artist. Same thing. It made no difference.
Yeah. Well, I think you either have a work ethic or you don't, and I don't think that, you either have that or you don't have it, and it's with you or it's not.
No.
I think work ethic's pretty, if you got a good work ethic, it's going to be with you no matter what you're doing and who you're doing it with. And if you got pride of ownership in what you do, the same thing.
Yeah.
That doesn't tend to, I've noticed it doesn't tend to vary. Hey, everybody, this is Craig Garber, and I'm here with Reggie Young and his lovely wife, Jenny, and we're here for part 2 of this incredible walk down memory lane with Reggie. So the next few questions, Reggie, I reached out to a bunch of session guys in town that have all played with you and looked up to you for a long time, and I asked them if they had some questions, and I got some pretty cool questions, so I'm going to really good ones. I'm going to read down the line. This first one's from Rick Vito. Said, hey, Craig and Reggie, I discovered Reggie in 1970 on Bobby Womack's Fly Me to the Moon album.
Oh, yeah.
The guitar work on that recording is amazing. I used it as a basis to learn how to play with appropriate finesse on songs that require real feeling and soul. Bobby and Reggie together were quite the team. My question is to ask Reggie if he was influenced by the guitar work of Curtis Mayfield, and while I'm at it, I wanted to ask what other R&B or blues guitarists he may have listened to early on. Long live Reggie Young, and thank you for the inspiration. Your friend and fan, Rick Vito. And it said, P.S. I also had a fun time later echoing your tapestry of guitar work while on the road with Dobie Gray in 1974.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So he wants to know if you were influenced by Curtis Mayfield and what other R&B or blues guitarists you have listened to and been influenced by.
I might have been influenced some by Curtis, but I would say mostly by Bobby Womack. And when I first met him, and I like the way he played and how he approached songs and everything. You know, he was like a one-man band. He could just take the guitar and play stuff, and you'd say, "Mom, where'd they come from?" You know, and but we worked a lot together in Memphis, at American especially, and I was probably more influenced by him than by Curtis.
When you say that he was like a one-man band, do you mean like technically or tone-wise or creatively?
Well, a little bit of all of that, because when he sang, he played riffs and fills and stuff behind him that you'd think that a band should be playing it, but it sounded good with him doing it, you know.
Because normally you're not playing fills until you're having breaks in between singing. Is that what
yeah,
you're
I
saying?
know. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, great. All righty. Yeah, and you talked last time a lot about Bobby Womack, how important he was to your playing.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
All right. Next question is from Troy Lancaster. And it says, Craig, Reggie is my favorite session guitarist of all time, period.
Well,
working with him on Tracy Byrd's The Truth About Men album is one of my favorite memories. Before that, we worked together for 3 days on my first master sessions in 1993 with Reba's sister Susie Luxinger, if I pronounce that right. Reggie played electric while I played acoustic. I learned more about playing studio electric guitar from Reggie in those 3 days than any other experience in my entire life, and I'm so grateful to have had the chance to work with Reggie. His talent is off the charts, and he's a complete gentleman. Please ask Reggie who his favorite guitarists are now and what music influenced him.
Well, I still love the old R&B stuff like Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes.
Mm-hmm.
That was a big one for me. And then on up through the ranks, oh gosh, I like Larry Carlton. He's a great player, and he lives here. So anyway, I guess was influenced more by Bobby Womack, because this still goes back to the early guitar, and it's real modern too. Of course, everybody around here grew up listening to Chet Atkins and all that, you know. And I'm sure that has an influence.
I think I might have told you the story, and I don't know if I'm repeating myself, I apologize. Troy told me a story that you were in a studio with him and he loved your amp and he asked you a question about it and he said, "Can I see your amp?" And not only did you say, "Sure, go ahead," you took this young kid who was in his first master sessions and you walked over to the amp and reviewed it with him and explained it to him and I guess answered some questions, and he was very touched when you did that because he thought that spoke volumes about your character and your compassion as a human and as a just a kind, considerate player, and he was very humbled by that.
Well, I know when I was first started playing, I wished good guitar players had been this open about it. What do you do? How do you get this in? It was like a secret. They wouldn't tell you. So I'm I guess like an open book. I'm trying, I'm hoping I help someone when I do that.
Yeah, I think.
But I have nothing to hide.
Well, I think you helped a lot of guys, Reggie. James Pennebaker said, Dobie Gray's Drift Away has one of the classic guitar intros of all time. How did you come up with that lick, and what guitar did you play on that song?
Well, and I don't know what year it was, 69 Les Paul Deluxe. And the lick came, we were just sitting around, kind of ran over the song, and I played something similar to a song that I had written with a fellow named Red Williams. And Troy Seals, another guitar player, was on the sessions, and he said, "Hey, that's good. I like that." And he had written, no, he didn't write the song, but he had a big part of getting it together. And it was in the key of B. It didn't make it easier, And so it's sort of, I didn't just sit there and write an intro for it. I had a general idea, and the song we had written was nothing like Drift Away. It's just a bunch of guitar stuff, And that was right after I moved here. Yeah.
So was that spontaneous when that came out, or did you know what you were going to play?
Oh, I didn't know at all what I was going to play. No.
You stole from yourself, right?
I stole from myself.
That's crazy, man. Holy. That just came out of you, huh?
You funny guy.
Holy crap. That's amazing.
When that record was hitting, it was up the charts, we went out to L.A. to the, what's the name of that club? I can't think of it. Oh, well. And all the L.A. people came, and it was Cher and all of it. And it was a real popular place. And anyway, we had never performed the song, live, because we were all session musicians. And so we got on stage, and the announcer introduced Drift Away by Dobie Gray. And I had the intro by myself, and I started out down, and about halfway through the intro, I thought, oh no, I'm in the wrong key. And I was in B flat, and the song was in B, which didn't make it any easier. And the bass player is the guy that came in down to like if we were in B, he'd come into an E. Well, he did that to an E. So he sounded like he was a half step off, and I was correct, And Dobie, I think Dobie talked to first verse because he couldn't find the pitch, and I told him, guys on stage, whenever we did that, I said, no, it's in B, and we had a horn section, and parts were written out and all that. And anyway, we did get through it. I don't know how. And I took my chart. I didn't even have music on my chart. And I just I took a black pen and wrote the big letter B on Drift Away. So I'd play it the same way every day.
Wow. That's
almost at that club. Oh, well.
I think it's good that people will probably be comforted to hear that you actually made a mistake, to be honest with you.
Oh, yeah.
The 69 Les Paul Deluxe, do you still have that guitar?
Yeah.
Oh, you do? Wow, that must be, is that original like PAFs in there?
No, it's a mini humbuckers.
Okay. That must sound wonderful.
It does.
Is it in the museum?
It's in a museum down there in Nashville.
Musicians?
A museum.
Yeah, wow. That's awesome. Next question is from Pat Flynn. It's an unusual question. He says, of all the new players who came along, why was Pat Flynn your favorite? Give examples.
Pat,
Go ahead. Sorry, Reggie.
well, Pat's a great player. And what's that group he was with? Newgrass Survival?
Yes, sir.
And we did an album with Glenn Campbell, and he just played wonderful. And there's one song that we played. Let me think of the name of it. It was called "Gone, Gone, Gone," and anyway, I took a solo. And when I started to take a solo, Glenn said, "Reggie," he did the same thing with Pat, and that song really came off good. It really did. Not because he spoke our names, but it was fast, and we played pretty fast.
That must have been a pretty good feeling, though, when you got Glenn Campbell shouting your name.
Yeah, I know it. Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
Yep.
I bet.
Yeah.
Okay, Mike Brignadello. This is a funny one. He wants to know about the time you had the blind piano player Pig Robbins driving your car, and he said it might have been an alcohol-related incident, but he wanted to hear about it from you.
Well, I wasn't in the car, but Pig was put in the driver's seat, and they had him drive. The fellow that was with him was telling him left, turn right, left. You're going slow. We was all standing there in the parking lot and look up and see Pig driving by.
Whose car was that?
I don't know. It's been a long time ago.
So that was an alcohol-related incident.
It might have been.
All right.
Yeah, Mike's from Memphis.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is. Real good guy. I interviewed him quite a long time ago. Real good guy. He also had another question. He wanted to know about the intro to I Can Help by Billy Swan. He said it's a guitar lick you were fooling around with.
Yeah.
And then the producer heard it and said, "That's it. That's our intro." Is that?
Yeah.
And at the time, Mike said you thought the producer was out of his mind.
I told him that. We were good friends. I said, "You got to be kidding." He said, "No, I think it." He said, "That's just an unusual intro, making an unusual intro." I said, "Well, at least let me put another part with it." So I did. It's a whole tone scale, and anyway, that's the way it turned out, and it turned out pretty good because you can just play that and they'll say, "Oh, that's that Billy Swan record."
Yeah, it's turned out pretty good is an understatement, I think. How did you come up with that, like, to put a whole tone scale behind it?
I don't know. I was just sitting there noodling around, tuning it up. Nothing earth-shadowing.
That's it's so funny to ask you questions because that's your answer almost all the time. I don't know. I was just noodling around.
No,
holy, you just had a bunch of happy accidents. I'll tell you, man. I mean, it's just amazing. It's just really amazing how all this stuff came out of you.
Oh.
Biff Watson.
Yeah. Biff's a good player. I really like him.
Yeah. He said here. Okay, here goes. I recall Reggie. Okay, this is it. Yeah. I recall Reggie telling me he played the intro to Drift Away on a gold top Les Paul Deluxe, like the one I have, which is a 7071. I would love to verify that and the pickup he used. So.
It seemed like I got that guitar right before I moved here, which was 1972. And so I said it was 69. I'm not, it might be a little newer than that, but the pickups were mini humbuckers. And it was a little hard to play. But
why is that?
I don't know. My telly was a lot easier to play than the Les Paul. And I got a story about that Les Paul. I was up in New York one day, and it was on Monday. We was up there doing a show with Johnny Cash, and I said, "Man, Les Paul is playing at the Iridium Club in New York, you know." And I said, "It's tonight. It's Monday night." And so we got through that show, and me and a friend of mine went to the club, and we had seats, and we sat and watched him. And I said, "I'd like to go back and talk to him." And I'd taken the pick guard off that Les Paul that I had, and had it in my pocket. Anyway, so we went back in. Les was back in the room by himself drinking a Heineken, I think. And he said, "We'll have a seat." So we gurmed him for about an hour, and there was there was tons of people out there waiting to get in to talk to him. And the club owners came in and told him, said, "Les said there's other fans out there wanting to see you." And he said, "Oh, I'm talking now." I said, "We've got some Nashville people." And I never met him before. And so we sat and gurmed him for about an hour before then. I went out, I said, "Oh, by the way, would you sign my guitar?" I had the pick guard. And he signed it and said, "Your friend, Les Paul," said, I'll put away, put on it. Anyway, it's in one of the museums down there, guitar places. And anyway, he's a very nice man. Very, very nice.
Do you remember anything that he told you that night that might have stuck out?
No, he was bringing up people that he knew here in Nashville. Harold Bradley and Grady and different people, and he was that Jennings just handed me something that was a 1969 Les Paul.
Okay.
And yeah.
You got the records for that, the invoices.
Yeah.
Wow, you're super organized.
Well, she is.
Wow.
No, you had it in a book. I just knew where the book was.
Wow, that's really impressive. That's like almost.
It said the Musicians Hall of Fame. Yeah.
That's almost 50 years ago. That's great.
And it says on the pick guard, "To Reggie, my friend." He said, "Good health, Les Paul."
That's cool.
Let me see it.
Where'd you get that guitar?
I guess I got it in Memphis since it's 69. Did you see that?
Yeah. I see it. That's cool. The autograph from Les Paul on the pick guard. Very cool. Yeah, that's awesome. That's great, man. Do you happen to remember what you paid for that guitar?
No, I never no idea at all.
You probably have the check, but I'm not going to go look for that.
That would be impressive. Wow.
Oh, he every check.
Wow.
Crazy.
Jeff King had a question, but it's kind of, you answered it. It said it's about Drift Away. Everybody wanted to know about Drift Away. Where did the intro part for Drift Away come from? I heard it was something he'd just been playing around with for a while, and he thought it'd be cool for the record. Jeff King, yeah, which you already answered that.
Yeah.
But that was it. So that was your guys. They were wanting to know stuff. Let's talk about gear for just a little bit.
Okay.
Tell me your top 3 or 4 guitars that you've played over the years and why you love them so much.
Well, the number one would be the Telecaster, 69 Telecaster. And it just had the sound I like to play, the tone and everything. Next to that would be a 56 Stratocaster. And those are the main guitars I played all the time. I played the Les Paul some, and but I didn't do much work with any other guitars. There's people would give me guitars, not that I had a lot of guitars, hoping I would endorse them and all that. But if I didn't like it, I wouldn't do that, But the Telecaster was my favorite guitar. It still is.
You didn't do a lot of endorsements overall, did you?
No. No, not at all.
Just because it wasn't your thing, or you just like?
Well, if it was something I liked, I would, but I never got one that just knocked me out,
And you weren't a guy that used tons of pedals or anything like that?
No, not a whole lot of pedals. No.
What pedals did you use, like, on a regular basis?
Well, I was looking at them while I got them here at home on a pedal board. It started from the left to the right was a tuner. I had a tuner so I could stay in tune on it. It's a Boss tuner. And after that, one I really used a lot was a Boss equalizer. And when I would sit down to my amp, when I was going through my board, I'd go through the equalizer. Well, not yet, but I'd get the best sound I could possibly get out of my amplifier with the low end and mids and everything. And once I got that, as good as I could get it, I'd kick in the equalizer and add a little more bottom end to it and to fatten it up, And that was the main one I used all the time. And I'd use a tremolo a lot. It's a Voodoo Lab tremolo that I use on that Forever Young quite a bit. But anyway, it's a good tremolo. I had a TC Electronics chorus that I didn't use the chorus. I came out of it stereo. There's 2 channels out, and they weren't affected, but I could split my signal and go into 2 amps, which is what I did mostly. And then if I wanted to overdrive anything, I used a Voodoo Lab Sparkle Drive. And I used it some, but not very much. And then I had a Boss delay unit. And I always used, even whether you could hear it or not, I'd have a little bit of delay on the signal. And an Ernie Ball volume pedal. And that's so much what's on my board. Of course, I never used it. I wasn't a big board freak, you know. And I tried, like with the Telly, the pickups I had in there were, the neck pickup was Bill Lawrence, believe it or not. But it sounded so good in that Telly. And the middle pickup was a Seymour Duncan, and I had the middle pickup put in by Joe, got him here in town named Joe Glazer.
Joe Glazer, yeah, I know Joe.
Yeah.
Yeah, super nice guy.
Oh, he is.
Really good guy.
So I had a Seymour Duncan put in the middle, and the bridge pickup is a Ron Ellis, which is a great pickup. And
sorry.
Pardon.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Reggie. I apologize.
No, I was just going to say on the Strat, 56 Strat, all the pickups were Bill Lawrence, and Joe Glazer touched it. Don't say that very loud. But they were really, really nice pickups and quiet, you know, especially doing studio work. But I've got all the original stuff for the Strat. Even the I call it an ashtray, the thing that goes over the bridge.
Sure.
I got that and the original pickups, and I've tried all kind of pickups in that guitar, and I'd used EMGs for about 5 years, I guess, because it was totally quiet, and that's what you need in the studio. But they were sounding real good. But the Telly was pretty much what I said it is, still is. And sometimes it sounds like a hollow body guitar. And but messing with the EQ, the equalizer, you can set that Telly where it really sounds good.
A few questions for you. Would you always keep your amp on the same settings?
Pretty much.
Do you remember what those settings were? If you're comfortable spilling the beans, if not, that's good.
I don't mind at all. The treble is on about 5, and the bass is about the same thing, close to 5. And I always use a little reverb because it's smoothed it over some. And I had two Fender Deluxes, 12-inch Deluxes, and I'd usually set them on the same thing. And I had another amp. Where does he live at?
Phil Bradbury.
Yeah.
And
Anyway, a fellow named Phil Bradbury is over in North Carolina or South Carolina. Yeah. He comes to town every now and then. But anyway, he came to town a few years ago and said, I've got this amp I'd like for you to try out. And I just figured it was somebody trying to get me to endorse their amp. And I told Jenny, I said, well, I'll probably be back in about 30 minutes. And so I went over where he had them set up. I stayed over there all day. I love that amp.
Wow, what amp?
It's called
Little Walter.
Little Walter. Yeah.
What'd you like about it?
It's a tube amp, and he used old tubes. They're new tubes, but they're old. And man, this amp sounds good. And I used it. I redid everything on Forever Young, and I don't know what amps I'd use. I don't know what amps I used of his on that. I don't know which ones I'm playing. But they are great amps.
They sound like vintage. Is that what's so good about them?
Yeah, that's exactly the way they're designed.
And
And on my Fenders, I had 12-inch speakers. They were vintage 30s. Celestion.
there was no mid-range on those.
Well, not like...
On the
Well, yeah, some, but not. You just had to monkey with it and get your tone set right, so where you can hear it.
Okay.
But the little Walter is a great amp, and shortly after I did that, I think he got Vince Gill. He got one, and then. Gosh, everybody in Nashville. Brent Mason. And anyway, it was just about all the players here in town have those amps. That's how good they are.
That's pretty. I mean, that's a pretty impressive. For you to be bragging on them like that and only playing that in 2 Fenders, that's
yeah,
it says a lot. You ever sell a guitar you wish you can get back?
I'd like to have the old guitar I played years ago when I was doing Bill Black. I'd like to have it back, just have it. And but like I said the other day, I couldn't. If I wanted a new guitar, I had to take my old guitar and trade it in on the one I wanted. And I think I traded it in on the Fender.
Yeah, and, that's what you said.
Yeah.
So, after all these years, how many years ago did you first pick up a guitar?
Well, we moved to Memphis in 1950.
Okay.
And I got one from Santa Claus.
Okay, so that's 67 years ago.
Oh, wow. My goodness.
So here's my question. After 67 years, the joy of picking up a guitar is still just as special to you.
Yeah.
So what fuels that a passion? What do you get out of that emotionally? What kind of an emotional charge do you get when you pick that up?
Well, first of all, that I can still do it. And, and I can't do it as good as I used to. And,
I don't know. Have you listened to your record?
Yeah, well,
it sounds pretty good to me, Reggie.
I think the record is, if I do say so myself, is very good.
It is.
I'm trying to write some more stuff, and I don't know that I will be up to playing as good as I did. But back then I was working all the time, So, but I'm not doing that, and it's hard to make myself want to play. I had some surgery about 2.5 years ago, and after that was over, I lost the desire to to play, but they said that's normal for that operation. And but it's coming back. I'm wanting to play, and I've written 3 songs already, and I just need to, get enough to have a session. We'll probably do it here at home with the same, with Jim Horn, and the same people and everything. Something like Prairie Young and Jenny.
How's your health now? You feeling okay though? You coming back from the surgery?
How would I explain what happened to me? Well, I went in. They wanted to do a, what do they call that?
Pericardial peel.
Pericardial peel with your heart, and so your heart sits down in a little packet, and the packet had gotten thick, and they thought they could scrape that off. So that's why I went in for surgery and had open heart surgery, but there wasn't anything. It was they didn't think it would be safe to do that. So when I woke up, I felt in my chest. I didn't know if they had done anything or not, but I felt the bandages and thought, oh, they did do something, and I'm still alive. And then when I got woke up, they said they didn't do anything. It just closed me up, but that left me sort of, what we're going to do now. So I changed doctors. I got a very, very good doctor now. And I take mostly vitamins.
Great.
And I got a report the other day I don't have any heart problems. And but it left me, what do they call it? It's too, like you got your main brain and your
they say your cerebellum, which is your center of balance, has been affected.
And I don't think that can be corrected. Something I probably have to live with, where I'm dizzy a lot of times. Sort of similar to what we call it.
An inner ear.
Yeah,
like vertigo? Vertigo.
Yeah, like vertigo, but
Yeah.
it's not vertigo.
Yeah.
No. So anyway, I'm just living with it, and it'd be hard to stand up and play because your balance. But I could sit down and play. So now all I got to do is play.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So
that's what I'm trying to get myself back up to.
Good.
But before that, I was working all the time, so it's like I was practicing and rehearsing all the time, even though I was working.
Yeah.
And I'm not working that much now. I'm not in the studios, anyway. So I'm trying to get myself back to close to where I was at, do this album.
And you're in the gym every day or almost every day, right?
3 days a week, yeah.
Great. That's fantastic. That's the best medicine you can do for yourself, man.
Oh, it is, I know. It is.
Well, I hope you pick up that guitar again. I think everybody will be.
Oh, I will, and I do.
And I think you'll feel great.
Yeah.
Put your own album on and play to it.
Well, that's getting my fingers working.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's not a bad thing to do, right? Because it'll in a way be probably challenge you a little bit because you haven't played it in a while. But it's like sitting in a comfortable seat because you know everything so well. And if you screw up, it's your stuff, so it's okay.
Yeah.
Do you remember the first record or I said, a silly question, record or CD you ever purchased? I don't think they had CDs back in the 50s. You remember, you remember the first record that you bought or that you were given?
The first one that I remember was a 78.
Oh, I remember those.
And it was on Lefty Frizzell. And I was just a kid. And the song was Mom and Dad Waltz. And it was in the key of E because he strummed a big E chord. Anyway, I was out in California working with Merle Haggard, and told his wife, he said, go get that guitar that's under the bed and bring it out here. So she came back in, she had a acoustic case, I didn't know what it was. And we opened it up, and it was a Lefty Frizzell guitar. And he said, play it. Take it and play it some. And so I took it out and played the E chord, which reminded me of Mom and Dad Waltz. I said, ooh, I can't do that. So anyway, I got to play Lefty's guitar.
And that was the first song you ever heard, the Mom and Dad Waltz.
Yeah,
that's kind of cool.
I remember it, yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Do you have, like, if you had to pick the top 3 records that you've ever, if you were on a desert island, in no particular order, what do you think the top 3 records that you'd want with you?
It'd probably be a Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes of If You Don't Know Me By Now.
Great song.
Yeah. And let me think. Did I write that down somewhere? Oh, yeah. They used to have a Hank Crawford album that just wore out that I played all the time.
What album?
I can't remember.
No, fair enough.
I don't know. And then Bob Wills. There's a lot of Bob Wills Western swing thing that I would remember and learn guitar solos and stuff. And yeah, and I had some old Ted Atkins records, and I think everybody did.
Yeah. Thanks. It's a nice selection there. Reggie, what's something throughout this whole journey of your life and your music career, what's something that you've come to learn about yourself in going through all this?
Well, I guess I try not to be a jerk, and I would try to help other people, other guitar players, young guitar players. And then doing that, it helped me, And well, I don't know. I was just nice to everybody because there were players back then that wouldn't give you the time of day, If you was a young guy and said, how did you do that? They wouldn't tell you,
Whenever you helped somebody else, that made you feel good?
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever had any heroes? Anybody been a hero of yours? Who's some of your heroes? Could be musical, personal, whatever.
Well, my dad was one because he showed me the chords to play and stuff. And I had a friend over in Little Rock named Kinky King. He was a Western swing fiddle player. And I really respected him. He played great fiddle. And his wife is the reason that I've got this CD out, because he was always going to do that with himself, and he waited too long, and he passed away. But and she said, "Well, you finish your CD." I said, "Okay, Dolores."
That's great. That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's great. I'm glad she pushed you to that.
And I gave her credits on the album.
That's great, man.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
So my dad and Kinky are pretty big heroes to me.
That's good, man. That's good. You always do the right thing, man. I really respect that about you.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah, well, you try, man, and that's all you could do, you know? That's all you could ask. What's some of your best childhood memories?
Well, before I moved to Memphis, before I played guitar, I played harmonica, and I was on KOSE in Osceola. And they had request from the Chamber of Commerce, I think. And I was on there and playing, I played Lavender Blue and on harmonica. And I guess it made an impression that in some kind of music business or something. And
so that was your first taste of performing?
Yeah, it was.
Felt good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was probably 12 or 13. I had a paper route. It gave me a little business sense, you know. And I had a bank account back when I was 12 or 13.
It was when they used to give you them passbooks, right?
Right? Yeah.
And you go in the bank and you put your deposit and you say, oh, an extra $1. That's great.
Well, my neighbor was the bank teller at the bank in Osceola. So we sat down and figured it out. I didn't have a lot of money in the bank, but I had some.
Hey, 12, that's pretty good. This is probably a tough question, may not even be possible for you to answer. And the question is, if you didn't become a guitar player, what do you think you might have done instead?
Well, I don't think I would become a bum, you know, and that is a tough question. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know what it'd be.
You've been a guitar player so long, and it's for it's been who you are. That's why I thought it would be tough to answer.
It's all I've ever done. Yeah.
Well, so this is another tough question. It says, "Tell me something about yourself that people might be surprised to hear, or they might find a little odd." What's odd about Reggie Young?
Well, I guess I learned how to do this in the Army. I learned Morse code, so then I learned how to listen to it and copy it down, and understand what was being said. And so I know about Morse code, which is I used it in the Army, and after I got out, I knew I don't want to do with it.
Well, it wasn't too many jobs in the paper, Morse code specialist, right?
No, and it's obsolete now because they got the computers that copy all that stuff now.
Where did you serve?
Ethiopia.
What were you signed up?
No, I was drafted.
You were drafted. What was
Yeah.
What conflict or what
It was right before it's right after Korea and before Vietnam.
Okay. Interesting. So you were there like how long?
18 months.
And you said the Army.
Yeah.
How'd you like that experience?
Well, I guess it helped me appreciate where I'm from. You know.
I would imagine Ethiopia back then was probably incredibly poor, no?
Yeah, it still is.
Yeah. So it made you grateful for what you had back home.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I see that. Happiest moment or time in your life, Reggie?
Well, that's easy. When I married my wife.
I had a funny feeling you were going to say that. And I'm not going to ask the next question who's the most important person, because I know it's Jenny.
Yeah.
And you talked about
It is.
What's the most important thing your dad taught you?
I guess playing chords on guitar.
And Mom?
Probably church. She helped me to love church. I did like church a lot.
It's another tough question because I know you don't like to brag on yourself, but what do you think is your strongest quality, the best thing about you, or what do you like best about Reggie?
Well, I like to help other people. And I've always been honest with myself, true to myself. Yeah, you go play other people's licks, it's like you're stealing from them, you know. And so you need to play your own stuff and know where it came from.
And you and you like that about yourself, that you've always been like that.
Yeah, I have. I've always been that way.
Jenny, I'm going to ask you, what do you like best about Reggie? What do you think is his strongest personal quality?
He is so kind and thoughtful. He's, gosh, he's always saying, "Oh, you do too much for me," but he does everything for me. He's just he's always thinking about somebody else, and it's usually me probably, but he thinks about his kids and prays for them every day, and he's just a gentle, truly humble person. If I'd got to play on one hit record, I'd be so puffed up. And Reggie, truly, genuinely humble and gentle and kind.
Yes.
How's that?
No, that's very.
I was caught off guard. I didn't have any notes for myself there.
No, that's of course that's extremely believable, and it's very apparent.
And I think one thing, and he always says this, but it's so funny because he really means it. He says, these people are making too much of me. All I did was answer the phone and go to work.
Well, I understand it from your perspective, but what came out of you when you went to work was very unique. And the fact that it came out so consistently and so frequently is even more unusual.
Oh, wow.
To have something like, to have magic is wonderful. To have magic for all the time or so often is very extraordinary. And I think that's the marvel of what people, are fascinated with you by, is really and truly, some gift that you've been given and you've shared it.
Well, I always try to treat everybody the same, whether they're a nobody or a somebody, star, Oh, star spelled backwards is rats. So I try to play the same way on no matter who it is. And you're not like saving your best licks for the stars or something, and I know some people that do that hold back and don't play as good, or well, let's hurry and get out of here, I never was that way.
The thing with you is, though, you had so many, quote, best licks. So you doled them out very generously to loads of people.
Well,
stars or not stars. You got any?
Thanks.
Oh, no, thank you. You got any bad habits, Reggie? Oh, I should ask Jenny. That's a group question. Was Reggie have any bad habits?
Oh, Reggie likes a bit of sugar after dinner. We're always trying to eat less sugar, but he likes that chocolate bar. But that's not a very bad habit, really.
No, not a bad habit at all.
I used to smoke back in the 80s.
Oh, yeah.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Cigarettes?
Yeah.
Wow. What made you do that, or what made you stop?
Well, Tommy Cogwheel, a friend of mine, a bass player, when he passed away, that had a lot to do with him passing.
Oh. Okay.
Smoking too much. And I know a lot of people that smoke, and it's just an awful habit.
Yeah, it is. It is.
And my son had a lot to do with it, too. Because when we'd go get in the car, he'd roll his window down and start coughing.
Yeah.
I said, "What's the matter, son?" He said, "Well, you're going to smoke." So I just quit doing that,
Good for you.
Yeah.
How old is your son today?
Oh, gosh, he's 50s.
54?
Yeah,
No,
they said
52.
Yeah. He just moved up here. He was in Dallas for years, and he just moved back up here.
So he's nearby you guys?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. So you get to see him a lot?
Yeah.
That's fantastic. You got grandkids?
I got, he has two, and then I have a daughter that has Allison, and Allison's going to have she's had a baby, so I got a great grandbaby from her, and a great grandbaby on the way from my son's daughter.
That's great, man. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Do you have any hobbies outside of music?
What do? I used to scuba dive.
That's great.
And I can't do that anymore.
Where'd you used to do that? Down in the islands or Florida?
I did some in Florida and,
yeah.
and then some around Memphis and some around here in the lakes. And yeah.
You ever go,
especially in the spring, it's clear, the water's clear.
You ever go lobstering?
No, I never have.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. You scuba dive and do that.
Yeah.
What was the favorite part of what you did and the least favorite part? Playing guitar and being a studio guy.
Well, it took a lot of time, for one thing. And I guess the rewards of it is cutting a hit record and watching something go up the charts that you played on. It's sort of a gas,
Yeah.
And that mostly, but you can get too busy.
As far as not knowing when to shut it off?
Working so much. You take every session you get called for. And where I used to live is out of Nashville a little bit. And people said, can I work next Wednesday? I'm just making this up. And I'd say, no, I'm going to be out of town. Well, I live out of town. And anyway, so, there's a friend of mine, Joe Osborne's bass player. Me and a drummer named Larry London, we was working so much. That's all we were doing was working, going home, sleep, get up, and going back to work. And I said, I got to have some time off. And to Larry, and Joe said, well, you ought to do like me and Hal Blaine did in L.A. He said, go to double scale. I said, you can, so you lose half your accounts, you're still making the same money.
Sure.
You know? Well, that rang a bell with me, and Larry London, it just floored him. He said, oh, man. And I said, well, I'm not twice as good as, I don't think I'm twice as good as any other guitar player. And Larry said, I said, what do you think? He said, well, I think I'm twice as good as a drummer. And, so we both did. We pitched a date and went double scale. And it cut things down to about half of what it was. Then it picked back up. And
at double scale. So you just decided to double your there was no union or problems with that? You could charge whatever you want?
Yeah, you could.
Okay. And then so you doubled your rates and it still, the volume didn't cut back?
It cut back for a while, and then it took about 4 or 5 months, and I was back just like we were. And then it became, if somebody wasn't double scale, say, well, what's wrong with him?
So everybody started doing double scale.
Yeah, they did.
Oh, wow.
And then now the whole record business is kind of nuts,
Yeah.
It's not like it used to be.
No, not at all. Wow. So you're at double scale, and so you effectively changed the economy of music. Really, if you think about it. Wow.
Well, I called around my guitar buddies. I said, I'm thinking about going double scale from what Joe Osborne said. And I said, I don't want you all to think that, I think that I'm twice as good as the other guitar players. Before I did that, I made sure they didn't believe that.
Sure.
And then I called some producers that I worked with, and they thought it was a good idea because I was working so much they couldn't get me every time they wanted, And so anyway, Joe Osborne started that.
So you had a bit of a hard time saying no to people.
Oh yeah,
because you didn't want to disappoint them.
Right, and they tended to get a little perturbed with you when you told someone, if somebody wanted you for certain, they said, well, no, I'm not going to, I'm not working that day, but I'm not going to. They take it real personal. So that's why I said I was out of town, and I was out of town.
Yeah. Oh, I get you. So then they're taking it personal. Then in the back of your mind, you're thinking, well, maybe they don't want to hire me anymore because they're going to retaliate.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I get you. That's a tough balance there.
Yeah,
it's almost a no-win game.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Anything that you would like to improve on, either personally, musically, or anything else?
Oh, for sure, my playing, because since I had that operation 2.5 years ago, it's sort of escaped a bit, and I just need to play and get it back up, And
it'll come back right away. You know that, right?
I hope so. Yeah.
You did this almost, you've been doing this so long. It has to, almost 60 years. It's like if you go to the gym and you're in an accident within 2-3 months, your muscle memory comes back. It's the same thing with your hands, and the muscle memory on your hands probably is going to be even closer than muscle memory on your biceps or your chest or something.
But if I'd like to get it back in order to play with Jenny, because she's a great cellist.
Wow.
And we all play a lot together.
Well, pick up the guitar, man.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Just pick it up. You'll be fine. It may not be happening day one, but you got plenty of time.
Yeah, it's true. I'm working on it.
I'm gonna get a report from Jenny in a month, and
she'll tell you too.
Anything if you could go back and do one thing differently, either business or personal, anything that you would change?
No, but I've always done musically what I'd like to do. I never thought I was as good as people say I am, but I just, like she said, I'd answer the phone and go to work. I never thought anything about it, and they'd make more out of it than I would.
I think good is a word, but I think special is the word.
Yeah, that's good, Craig.
To be honest with you, because there's a lot of good players.
Yeah,
I think what you brought to the table was special.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a tough question. Toughest decision you ever had to make, Reggie, or the hardest thing you ever had to do?
Well, one thing, I'm just thinking off the top of my head.
Sure.
Is I've been working in the studio so long. When we recorded the Highwaymen, they wanted to go out and promote their album. So the producers wanted the same players, to go out and promote the album with them. And it's always been like if you left town, somebody would come in and get your job,
Yeah.
And sort of make up my mind to do that. I said, well, I'll try it. We'd had a 30-day tour, the first one. And I said, I'll try it for 30 days. And I did. And I turned down George Strait and a bunch of people around town. And that was hard to do, just walk away from the studio world and go on the road. But I made a lot of money on the road. And when they did their second tour, they said, would you like to? No, we're going to do a second tour, and they just took it for granted I was going to do that, And I said, well, here's the deal. I lost some money on the first tour, but from this studio work I had to turn down. And they said, well, what did it take to get you to go out?
Good for you, man.
And I give them close to what I needed, and to make the same income.
Sure.
And so they did that, and so we did that for about 5 years. Great. And that was sort of scary, getting out of the studio world like I used to,
I could see that. But when you came back, everybody was open arms?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm not surprised. You have any funny or cool stories from that time you were on the road with those guys?
One time we was in Central Park in New York, and we hadn't done the show in about 6 months. And the four of them stayed on stage the whole time we did the show, about 2 hours. And the way they introduced themselves, well, the way Johnny Cash introduced himself, he'd step up to the microphone and say, "Hello, I'm Johnny Cash." Then I'm supposed to play the intro to Folsom Prison Blues, down, 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 down.
Right.
And been doing that show in about, like I said, 6 months. So I'm standing there ready for him to go up and say, "Hello, I'm Johnny Cash," and I'll play that, And he never did do it. He just turned around and nodded to me like I'm supposed to play. I said, "What am I supposed to play?" And I knew it was something on the low strings, and I told Gene, the drummer, Gene Kristofferson, I said, "Count it off, Gene." And I didn't know what I was going to be doing. So I just noodled around on low strings, and Cash come in singing that song, And then Waylon came over. He said, "Hoss, we need to talk about your money." Of course, he was laughing and joking.
Yeah.
There was one funny thing that happened. But there's always trying to outdo each other on stage. And so every night they changed the program, and moved songs around. And
which was a lot of work for you guys, I would imagine.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. How was your experience playing in New York? Was Central Park full?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about 500,000 people probably there, I would imagine.
There's a lot, yeah.
Yeah.
They had a country music week, I think. And, I can't even who all was there. But there's more people there than the Highwaymen.
Yeah. I asked you two more questions, Reggie. First question is, over the last 10 years, what has been the biggest change in you, in your personality? And has that change been deliberate, like something you're trying to change, or you've changed on purpose, or just a natural process of aging?
I think spending more time with Jenny. I'm not working as much as I used to, and I don't think I would. And we love to travel a lot and be together, And I like to do more of that. Yeah.
And I know Jenny's happy about that, right?
Yeah.
That's right. I say, yeah, it's time to enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you've earned it.
But she's an excellent cellist. She's an excellent musician.
Well, thank you, Reggie.
Yeah, you are.
It's time for you to enjoy yourself, have some fun.
Yeah, man. So I got to ask you just one more question, and we'll wrap this up. My next question is, you got to go on the record. When's your next record coming out?
Yeah. You're working on it.
I'm working on it.
All right. That's a very vague answer.
Yeah.
It is. Because I don't know myself.
You got 3 songs written.
Yeah.
And they're good ones, too.
Well, that's great. I really hope you pick up your guitar and start playing again. I think you'll feel great.
I will. Yeah.
And, man, I cannot thank you enough for both of you guys and your time and your generosity. And, man, you're a special guy. And I think a lot of people, think the world of you. And I could see why in the little time we've got to spend together. Honestly, man, it's like I feel like I've been a guest in your house. You guys are you guys are so warm, and it's just been.
Well, hey, you've done a great job, and you're so organized.
Thank you.
Great
questions. Got Reggie thinking about stuff.
Yeah.
Well, good. And when I come up to Nashville this summer, I will come and have a cup of coffee with you.
Yeah.
All right.
Come see the guitars.
And yeah, I will. Hang on, I'll wrap up with you. And any final words of wisdom?
Thank you.
That's good, Reggie.
Thank you. Hey, I just wanted to mention again that you should check out Reggie's latest and only CD, the one he just talked about. He put out because his friend's wife reminded him that his friend didn't get a chance to put it out. And it's called Forever Young. It's a wonderful record. We talked about it in part 1 of this interview, and you can get it online at reggieyoung.org. That's reggieyoung.org. Check it out. You'll be really happy you did. It's got classic Reggie stuff on it. Okay, everybody, thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this interview as much as I did. I can't thank Reggie and Jenny Young enough for their sweetness and their time and their love and generosity and opening up their hearts to me and to everybody listening. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you.
Go to everyonelovesguitar.com. Sign up to get notified of future episodes along with some early product announcements and discounts. And remember, happiness is a choice. So be nice, go play your guitar, think about Reggie, and have some fun. Till next time, peace and love, and I'm out. We hope you enjoyed this show. If you did, subscribe to the Everyone Loves Guitar podcast, and you can do this online at everyonelovesguitar.com or on iTunes. And if you like the show, please leave us a 5-star positive review. The more 5-star reviews we get, the higher our show ranks, and higher rankings mean we get to continue speaking with cool, interesting guests on our show. We'll see you on the next episode, and until then, keep playing your guitar and have fun making music.